Hello, my friends. So you have an interview coming up. Maybe now, maybe in the far future, okay? I want to make sure that you know how to answer those interview questions and really rock the entire interview process, because I want you to land that career of your dreams. So in this video here, we are going to go over tips and tricks on how to interview in the best way possible, whether in person, on the phone, on Zoom, whatever it may be, and suggestions on how to present yourself in the best way possible, and also how to answer some of those typical interviewing questions. Welcome to Purely Persistent. I'm Michelle. This video here is actually just one part of an entire course that I have. So click the link down below for free access to my entire course on career development to help you land that career of your dreams. Now let's get started on our interviewing. Okay, are you ready? We are not just here to practice interviewing, we are here to actually ace that interview, right? Okay, let's start. Okay, so there are lots of different types of interviews. And here are a couple of tips depending upon how your interview is going to be. First of all, if you have a phone interview, you want to make sure that you're standing by your phone ahead of time and that you're ready to take that call when the interviewer calls you. Couple of quick tips. Yeah, it's not like they're actually going to see you, so you could be in your jammies. But my suggestion to you is to dress nice, okay? Because when you dress nice, it's going to give you that sense of confidence. Also, maybe post a couple of sticky notes around the wall, wherever you're at, to remind you to smile, remind you to be positive, that sort of thing. And, maybe even give yourself a thumbs up. And that will just help you radiate that professionalism that you're hoping to have during your phone interview. Zoom interviews, kind of a big thing right now. So if you're doing a Zoom interview, make sure that your top half is definitely presentable, that you have your hair brushed, your body appearance is looking good, but also be mindful of your body language, your smiling, your hand gestures, that sort of thing. Now, the background is also something really big. So you want to make sure that whatever background you have is going to be a very pleasant background. If you're doing a Zoom recording and maybe you have a virtual background, be mindful of your virtual background, but also maybe go against a blank wall so that you're not like having disappearing hands if you're doing a Zoom interview, okay, with a virtual background. Of course, be mindful of your surroundings. Don't let anyone else be in the room. Don't let the TV be on or the dogs barking, that sort of thing. Okay, there's also one-on-one interview where you're just interviewing with one individual person. Okay, when you're doing that, definitely make sure that you have a good solid handshake and that you maintain eye contact with the person, but not so much eye contact that it becomes sort of awkward, when you're like staring each other down, but a little bit of solid eye contact, and then maybe every couple seconds look away a little bit, but try to remain with good eye contact. Now, if you're going to be having a panel interview in person, again, make sure that you have a really solid handshake, but check with whoever you have. You'll sort of figure out who the main person is going to be in that panel, but answer everyone's question. Make sure that you're giving good eye contact to everyone within the room. So here's an interesting question. How many cows are in Canada? This is actually a question from a Google interview. This is not one of those questions where right? Do you know how many cows are in Canada? Probably not. Okay, actually, I would bet money that you don't know how many cows are in Canada, okay? What they're doing is they're trying to figure out, well, what are you going to do, right? It's from Google, so maybe you'll Google it. So this is really, how are you going to problem solve? How are you going to answer the question? Now we have a question here from Amazon. If Jeff Bezos walked into your office and offered you $1 million to launch your best entrepreneurial idea, what would it be? Again, this is not really your typical interviewing question, but this is the type of question that gets you to think. And it gets the interviewer or the interviewing panel to really figure out what goes on in that brain of yours. How are you problem solving? How innovative are you? How creative are you? And then taking it from there will really help them see if you sort of fit into the demographic or the group that you'll be working with. Okay, so now we have preparing. Homework. Yes, guys, you need to do your homework. Make sure that you know everything that you can about the company in which you are applying for. Okay, the more you know about this company, the better. Questions. Okay, so prepare a list of likely questions that they'll have, right? So we have our standard interviewing questions like we'll be going over here in a minute today, but then what are some other questions they might ask you? If you can have a little bit of foresight on what the questions are going to be, then you're going to be able to answer those questions a little bit better just in case they come up. Okay, so the company. You want to identify the wants and needs of the company. Remember, they are not interviewing you to help you out, right? They are interviewing you so that you can help the company out, right? So it's not what the company can do for you, it's what you can do for the company. That's what they are hoping for. So kind of keep that in mind as you're interviewing and as you're answering questions. It's not about you. It's not about how the company is going to help you. It's how you are going to help the company. Okay, so social media. How is your social media looking? If someone were to randomly Google you or look on different social media platforms, are you coming across the way that the interviewer would want someone to be that works for that company? So be really mindful of your social media. And interviews. So practice interviewing for the position. Practice doing mock interviews. The more you can practice, the better you will be. And with that practicing goes role playing. Maybe you have somebody in your family or a friend, or even go down to your local workforce services and practice role playing. Have someone ask you interviewing questions. Another thing you can do is actually record yourself. So pull out your phone, answer some questions, and see how you're answering them. Okay, is there a way that maybe you could tweak how you answer that question? The more you practice, the better you're going to be. Reflect on previous interviews that you've had. Okay, so if you're brand new to interviewing, you have no practice, right? But if you've done an interview or 2 or 3 or 10 or 20, reflect on those interviews. What are some questions that you answered well? What are some things that you didn't do so well, right? I know I definitely have come out of an interview or interviews before and I thought, oh, Michelle, you should have answered that question this way. And by taking just a little bit of time to reflect on how I should have answered the question versus how I did is going to help me interview better in the future. Goals. Make sure that you articulate your goals and that you're very consistent. But again, make sure that whatever goals you mention, it's not completely about you. It's about the company. So make sure that you're keeping that in mind as you're talking about goals that you have. Positivity. So if they ask you a question like when is the time that you have handled a difficult situation, sometimes it's really easy to place blame on other people. My boss was horrible. This customer was terrible. Okay, I was just in Disney World recently and I encountered a confrontation between a customer, someone visiting Disney World, and an employer. So the customer, or an employee rather, the customer said to the employee was kind of grumpy, and the customer was like, where is your Disney magic? Or where is this magical spirit? I mean, she was just like furious at this lady because the lady was not just sunshine and rainbows. And then the employee who, was a little irate to begin with, she said the same thing. Well, where's your Disney magic? So there was a confrontation between the employee and the customer. And I'm sure that either one could very easily blame that other person, but you really want to make sure that you take ownership, okay? You take ownership of the situation, right? So maybe you could say that you had a negative experience with someone, but here's how you reacted in a positive way. Do not be negative in your interview. Nobody wants to be working with somebody that is negative, and if you show negativity in your interview, then that could be it. That could be the straw that makes it so that you don't get the job. So definitely make sure that you maintain positivity on every person that you're talking about within your interview. And of course, you want to be you. Be your authentic self. Be transparent, okay? Let them see the real you. Because if you're doing a show, then they're not going to see who you are, and they're going to maybe hire someone or not hire someone that you are or that you aren't. So be authentic. Be you. And now we have our speaking. So you want to be really mindful of how you're speaking. So watch out for those filler words, etc. And that's why practicing will really help eliminate filler words in your speech. Even recording yourself, you'll be able to catch those filler words. Proper grammar. Guys, I'm a grammar teacher. I'm kind of mindful of grammar, so make sure that you're using proper grammar in your interview. And then also make sure that your answers are very succinct. You want to use higher vocabulary and not ramble, okay? If you have your stories succinct or you have your answers succinct, then it will be a much smoother interview and you'll be much less likely to ramble. Another quick tip that I use is if they say give 3 instances, I will use my fingers and I'll be like first, second, third, or even if my hands are under the table, first, second, third. And that kind of helps me to remember what I'm asking or how I'm answering, okay? So here we have the most popular interviewing questions and how to answer them. Tell me about yourself. Okay, this question is so common. It could be a question pretty much in every single interview. So the way you want to answer this question is you really want to focus on your professionalism, okay? Who are you as an employee? What are the soft skills that you have? What are some of the hard skills or the actual physical skills that you have? Really focus on those. Maybe throw in a little bit of personal information about yourself, but don't give information that is irrelevant. It's irrelevant on where that you grew up on a farm with 7 cats and 6 brothers, right? Only stick with information that is relevant to the job unless you want to chime in maybe 1 or 2 small nuggets about yourself so that they can learn a little bit more about you. But again, make sure that your answer is succinct. So you want to make sure that you practice this question so that you are ready to go. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Another biggie that is always asked in interviews. So with your strengths, what are some things that you're really good at? Okay, one thing I answer, it's kind of cliche, but I am honestly a really happy person. That is a strength that I have. And by being a genuinely joyful person, I am able to help radiate that through my place of work, okay? Other people are happier when I am around, and that's a massive strength that I have. So that's definitely a soft skill, but you can also, do hard skills, right? So I've edited over 200 videos, right? That's a skill that I have. So what are some things that you're good at? And notice here how it says strengths, right? This is plural. Give a couple of strengths and don't just say, I'm good at this, this, and this. Maybe elaborate on those a little bit more. Kind of like how I elaborated on my strength is I'm happy. I didn't just say I'm happy. I said how being happy helps create an environment of joy. Okay, so elaborate on the questions. Okay, now with weaknesses, there are a couple different ways that you can answer this. I think that you should answer it truthfully. This is my weakness. I recognize that it's a weakness that I have. Okay, so for me, a weakness that I have is I have attention challenges. Okay, I do. I sometimes have a hard time focusing. Similar to ADHD or ADD, I've never been diagnosed, but I have attention challenges. Okay, but I figured out how to help me with my attention challenges. I know that if I play with things with my hands, that can help me stay focused. If I'm having a phone call and I am at home, I can be folding laundry or going for a walk, and that can help me pay more attention. Okay, I know that that's a strength or a challenge that I have, and there's nothing that I can necessarily do to fix that challenge to make it so that it doesn't happen at all, but I know of things that can be adapted to the challenge. Okay, one thing that sometimes people do when they answer this question is they take a strength and they turn it into a weakness. I caution you not to do that, okay? Don't say that I'm a perfectionist. I like things to be really great. And that's not a weakness. Don't we want people that work really hard, right? So say why it's a weakness and what you're doing to help either overcome or help you have it not be such a weakness that is going to get in the way of your work. So be really, really thoughtful with these questions. Go in with the answers before your interview, okay? Where do you want to be 5 years from now? Okay, so this is another one where you need to think about the company, but you also need to think about your situation in life, right? If you are applying to work at a summer camp, chances are that's not where you want to be in 5 years, right? That's a summer job, and just be honest with it, right? However, if you are working or if you're applying to work at a company that intends on having you for many years, you don't want to just treat this company like it's a stepping stone, okay? So that you can get into another company. So really think about how are you going to answer this question in order to help you work for the company that you're working for or that you're applying for. Please give me an example of a time when you had a problem with a supervisor or coworker and how you approached the problem. Okay, again, how are you at problem solving, right? How are you at bringing up uncomfortable situations to your supervisor? Even if you know that, whatever the supervisor was doing was right or wrong, how are you able to approach that supervisor? But that goes back to that negativity question, right? When you answer this question, be really mindful. You don't want to just be saying to the employer, or saying to whomever you're interviewing with, all these negative things about the employer, right? Or about your past employer. Because what they're going to do is they're going to be like, oh, well, we don't want to hire this person because they are just going to treat us like that, right? They're going to talk about us behind our back. That's not exactly the approach that you want to be taking for your interview. What are your salary requirements? Oh, I hate this one, you guys. It's so rough. So what you want to do is, depending upon when you are asked this question, if it's in your first interview, avoid the question. Okay, say it's negotiable or a fair rate. Okay, one thing that you really don't want to do is you don't want to be the first one to give an amount, right? You want to have the employer offer the rate to you. The reason being is if you offer an amount that's way too high, they're going to be like, we can't do that. Forget this person, right? But if you offer something that's way too low, they might be like, oh, this person doesn't really have the skills. We don't want them. Or else they might be like, sure, we'll take it. We were going to pay you this amount, but you only want this amount. So let's, for simplicity's sake, let's say you say $5 an hour, right? And they were going to pay you $10 an hour. Well, guess how much they're going to pay you now? $5 an hour. So be really, really mindful. Try to punt this question. Try not to be the first one to answer it. So it's negotiable is a really good answer to this question. Why are you leaving your current job? So be honest, right? But practice this question so that you know how to answer it, right? Are you leaving the job because you don't like it? Are you leaving the job because you want to move closer to family? Are you leaving the job because you want more career opportunities or opportunities for advancement? Think really well about why you're leaving the current job that you're in or why you left your past job, okay? Maybe if you're a student, the reason you left that past job was because school started up, right? You're no longer that summer camp counselor because the summer's over and now you're back at school. So be really mindful in how you answer the questions. Why should I hire you? Guys, I love this question, but if you don't have it practiced, you're going to definitely stumble and you're not going to be succinct in this answer. So why should I hire you? I recommend coming up with maybe 3 reasons why you are the best candidate. Maybe come up with a few soft skills that you have, a couple of hard skills or experiences that you have that are going to make you the best employee or the best candidate rather for this job. So really think it through on why they should hire you. At the end of an interview, it's always asked, what questions do you have for us? And if they don't give you the opportunity, make sure that you step up and you ask them a couple of questions, okay? So here are some questions that are asked frequently. So as an employee, how could I exceed your expectations? They're gonna be like, yes, we don't want someone that does the bare minimum. We want someone that goes above and beyond and really works hard. So we want someone that exceeds expectations. So this is a really good one. How can I help your company meet its goals? All companies have goals. How can you help the company? That goes back to not what the company can do for you, but what you can do for the company, right? And a question like this really shows that you want to help out the company. I like this one too. This one is definitely more personable. What excites you about coming into work, right? This is also going to help you figure out, is this a place that you want to work, right? If they say nothing excites me to come in, or I just come in for the paycheck or something, is that really a place that you want to be working, right? Because you want to make sure that wherever you're working is a good fit for you. And if the employees are passionate about their job, then that's going to maybe create an environment that you might want to work at. Okay, this question here is a little bit bold and a little gutsy, but if you have the nerve to ask it, I definitely would. Is there any reason why you wouldn't hire me? If you ask this question and you can get a good answer from them, then Maybe they'll hire you, maybe they won't. But if they give you an answer and they don't hire you, well, now you know what maybe you should do for your next interview, right? And finally, practice, 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 right? Practice in front of a mirror, practice as you're going for a walk. And, maybe say the words in your head, answer questions in your head, but also practice answering them out loud. Record yourself if you need to. The more you practice, the better prepared you will be for this interview. My friends, that wraps this up. Those are some of the most commonly asked interview questions and also how you can best prepare for your interview. Of course, make sure that you believe in yourself, okay? Just try your best and, believe in yourself. If it's meant to be, then it's meant to be. Now again, don't forget to click that link down below for my free class that has everything that goes with the career development to really help you reach that goal of your dreams. Now, go believe in yourself, go practice interviewing, and I just wish you the best. I hope that you find and get your dream job, because I think that life is a little bit happier when we are really enjoying our job, right? We spend so many hours at our job. You want to make sure that it's a job that you enjoy. So go believe in yourself, and I will catch you in the next video. Peace, friends.